You and I have talked a bunch about why you're not already down here seeking national office or something beyond being governor. And you always had a pretty good answer because you didn't think you could get a lot done here. What are you going to get done in this job?
Well, that's the excitement of it. I mean, when folks first said, hey, come to Airlines America, and I said, well, the Trade Association in Washington, you know, where's the connection with being governor? But the fact that you're looking at rebuilding the air traffic control system of America, which is desperately needed. I mean, 30 years of antiquated technology. And for the first time ever, you have an administration that is making it top priority. You have Secretary Duffy at Transportation, Brian, who's now running the FAA, this great guy, used to be the CEO of Republic Airlines, people that are really have hands-on, on-the-ground experience. I thought, this could be done. This could actually be a win for not just Washington, but for the country in terms of safety, a strategic asset. And it's the airlines. And you have, I mean, I'm not just saying this. The CEOs of the airline industry right now are amazing. These are some of the best CEOs in the country. They're mission focused. They deal with all these strains, international and domestic, and they all want the same thing. They're all rowing in that same direction to make sure that this system gets revitalized for the safety of the country.
It's a national security asset. To your point earlier, Governor, I have a couple of questions for you about this, and I want to get into the toy department with you a little bit because you must have an amazing shopping list on how exactly we're going to build all of this out. But here we are again on the verge of a possible government shutdown. It does appear that there's a carve out for the air traffic control system, and we would expect that. But would it mean other disruptions or problems for the industry?
It'll be a strain. So a couple things. Number one, the airlines still stay in the air, right? TSA, that does all the security. The FAA, which basically makes sure that the planes are landing safely and on time. Those are all deemed essential workers. Those folks come to work. So the planes will be there. Now, will the system be strained as it is often with these shutdowns? Absolutely. And that's where we ask for people just to take your time, be a little more patient, give yourself a little extra time. But the planes will get there.
Is it manpower? Do you not everybody gets to work, or they're all working without being paid?
They're all working, but they're working without pay.
Okay.
They're working without pay. And so that's a lot to ask.
That's TSA, air traffic controllers, everybody you encounter at the airport.
Hundreds of thousands of workers that make sure that they all are asked to come to work day after day. And so that's why a short shutdown can be managed pretty well. The longer it goes, as you would expect, more days, more weeks, whatever potential might be, that just really exponentially increases the strain on the system. The system doesn't shut down, but it will get strained. And so that's where, we're fighting hard to not have the shutdown. We're fighting hard for folks up on the Hill here to understand what those repercussions are, because there could be a potential carve out for the TSA, but what is likely going to happen is all these new things that are just happening, $12.5 billion allocated, it all comes to a screeching halt. The new simulators they want to buy for FAA because we need more manpower in those control towers. We want to train people more. We want to get those certifications going. All that comes to a screeching halt. Some of the new technologies that are going to be implemented, everyone has to basically take a pause until the system is turned back on again. So, I've seen Washington, we've all seen Washington fail time and time again. But when you're talking air traffic control reform, this thing is moving. It's really exciting. Senator Cruz has been an absolute leader. Senator Susan Collins of Maine, a leader. Congressman Graves just absolutely gets it. Everyone's pushing hard. No one's accepting failure, which is what makes it exciting and what makes the potential shutdown really scary.
Well, it is scary when you frame it like that. Let's talk about resources. You don't have enough money to do this all now, right? Congress is going to have a couple of layers, I presume, of funding approvals. You have the president behind you on this. We did talk to Senator Cruz about what would be involved here. This would be an unprecedented undertaking to essentially rebuild the American air traffic control system. The president talks about copper going into fiber, going into IP. It's a Frankenstein-looking system now. How long would it take to rebuild?
Great question. So first, you hit it right on the head. It's a bit of a Frankenstein patchwork system with floppy disks and copper landlines for communication. And that's really what it is more than anything. It's a communication system between the planes to ground, ground to ground, more than anything. And so when you're talking about the epitome of safety with folks in the air, that's where it gets scary. And obviously, the tragedy that happened last January was it was incredibly severe. That everyone in this town and across the country stood up and said, this should have been done literally 30 years ago. Let's go. Let's get it together. Now, how long will it take? It'll take a few years. Congress has allocated $12.5 billion. That's a good chunk of change. But when you're talking about the most technologically advanced overhaul system that this country's ever seen, it's going to take a lot more than that. But we've kind of outlined what are the quick wins. Let's get the copper, old-fashioned copper out of the ground and put fiber in the ground so these towers can talk to each other. Let's upgrade like I said, the simulators, the opportunities to bring more people, younger people, new workers into the FAA, into those control towers, so you have the redundancy. Those are easy and short wins that the Secretary understands, that the FAA understands, and that we think are going to be undertaken pretty quickly.
So you get that done. That's, I guess, the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Do you essentially then end up building a tandem system? It's like building the other Cape Cod Bridge, and then eventually you just move everybody over to the new one, or does it actually have to be integrated into the existing system?
It would be great to build a whole new system and turn the old one off and the new one. You can't do that. And it'd be great to do it nationally all at once. You just can't do that. So what I think the way they're going to go about it, they're going to bring what they call an integrator, kind of an overseer, if you will, of the project. Sometimes that doesn't go well, right? So the fact is, Secretary Duffy knows there's got to be accountability in that. There's got to be standards. To your point, there's got to be a schedule that has to be kept, because the president's behind it, and he's behind it very loudly. So anyone that comes on board and isn't achieving those goals, they're going to be held to a very loud and public standard. Like, this is not Washington as usual, which is awesome. This is, you know, when I only came down here about not even a month ago, and I told everybody, I said, look, Washington is moving faster than ever because of President Trump and this administration. So if you're going to keep moving at Washington pace, it ain't going to work. We got to not just keep up, but we got to, sprint just to keep pace with these guys. But the team is there to do it, which is really exciting. So what's going to happen is they're going to look at it, I think, regionally, and kind of 3 or 4 major pieces of the system that get overhauled and patchworked in and replaced one at a time.
Boy, fascinating.
Yeah,
I don't know if you have a price tag on this, but this is a Congress that can't even keep the lights on, it looks like, by the time we get to next Wednesday. Do you trust lawmakers with coming up with the money, or do you have other sources of funding?
So I believe that the additional sources of funding will be there if and when we achieve those results.
I see.
What I've said is get these 3 or 4 wins. Show Congress it's a win. Show some progress, show that it's working. And when you do that, as a governor, I can tell you, we did it in New Hampshire, the legislature says, oh, okay, it's working. There's accountability, there's standards. This isn't just a black hole of money. We're getting something, a return on our investment. The system's getting safer. Our Americans are getting, where there's better customer service on the front, back end, or sometimes the side you don't see, which is just making sure that plane lands safely on time, gets to your gate, and folks have confidence in the system.
Really interesting.
When all those pieces come together, I have no doubt that Congress will take further actions and, again, keep that investment coming to make sure that this system is built out to fruition, not just piecemeal, not just we tried something, it didn't work. Failure really isn't an option given the level of safety that we're talking.
You sound like you've been in this business your whole life.
I love it. I don't know. It's been 2 weeks. I'm having a ball. I really am. I love the people I work with. I love the projects. And there's other challenges, too. It's not just air traffic control, right? There's all these other challenges that the airlines deal with on a day-to-day basis. But here in Washington, whether it's some other technology issues, some policy, they're going after deregulation hard. That's no secret around here, which is awesome. The previous administration was really tough. They really overregulated.
What does deregulation mean for the airline business?
It means getting rid of all look, there was basically so much regulation put on in the last 4 years with the previous administration, where basically they had to do drastically less flights. They had to find ways to fit more people on planes, crowd them in, less flights per day. That was the mandate. Just, do less flights. We want more flights.
Because
we want more options for
America. Because of the number of hours pilots can fly, or was it a number of factors?
I think there were some environmental issues, and those are very important issues. The industry has taken a lead on sustainable aviation fuel. They're putting hundreds of millions of dollars of their own money into new technologies on sustainable, clean energy, clean aviation fuel, which is awesome. We're not just saying, hey, government, you do it. The industry's taken the lead, so it's very exciting. But the previous administration was pretty tough. But now that it's not that the regulations are just off, they're more streamlined to make sure it's a better customer service and a safer system as a whole.
Your industry is not only a national security asset, it's also an economic indicator. Remember the old as goes GM, so goes the nation.
That's right.
As goes the airline business, right? You have a better sense on how many seats you're filling, on how many planes you need to have in the air, of where this economy is going. And there's a big conversation in Washington right now. Are we slowing down? There's some weakness in the job market. There's a lot of noise with tariffs. Canadians don't want to come to New Hampshire anymore. When you add all of this up,
maybe they don't want to come to Massachusetts, but New Hampshire,
it's Vermont, actually. I bet it's Vermont. But you know what I'm saying. Are we on a trajectory of growth right now, or are we at the beginning of a slowdown?
It's growth. There's no question. So a couple really interesting metrics that I didn't even know. Over the last 5 or 6 years, the average price of an airline ticket in this country is down.
No kidding.
It's not just up a little bit where inflation's taken everything 25% up. All the competition that has happened has, forced more options for a consumer. You can buy a much cheaper ticket if you want. You can decide not to take baggage or take baggage. You can design your own experience on the plane at a much cheaper price.
So are you less at the whim of the economy? Is that your point?
No, it's because the competition is so strong. It's a great argument that why free markets work.
Yeah.
And when they compete, the prices have come down. Where the opportunity really is on that international market, I think.
Sure.
What the president has done with most of the general agreements is make sure that it's a zero for zero tariff issue on the airlines, and specifically on the manufacturers and the price and the parts. So at least with the European Union, that was a big one, a big win for them. I mean, we got to codify it, as all these tariff deals have to be ultimately codified.
Yeah.
But that was a huge win there in terms of making sure that the tariff issue isn't going to somehow inflate prices or cause some sort of strain. Like I said, I was just shocked to learn that competition. Do you know anything else in America that has come down in price in 5 years? I literally can't think of anything.
And they still seem kind of expensive, I have to admit, which is why I'm amazed to hear that.
But again, but they're not. I mean, there's this idea that, there's the prices are screaming high. I think because they allow you to develop your own experience.
Sure.
So if you want to take an extra bag or whatever, you pay a little more here. But that base price of a ticket has gone down about 2 or 3% over the last few years, which means more families can afford, whether it's for vacationing or traveling. We didn't touch upon something here. What's coming up? The holidays. So when you talk about government shutdown and putting a strain on the system, I don't know about you. What do you do for Thanksgiving? Do you stay at home? Do you Christmas? Do you travel? What do you do?
I try to go home, yeah.
Yeah, try to go home.
But I'm usually driving because and then I end up taking 10 hours to get to New England.
With so many millions of Americans.
Can you get me home this year?
Can I get you home this year?
To New England.
Well, everyone's loving the airline, so they're flying. If we stay open, if there's no strain shutdown, I'll do what I can to get you home.
When do we get a supersonic, when do we get a Concorde for the future? When's the supersonic jet going to be part of this fleet that you're now helping to run?
I don't know, but I'm going to make that the next.
Let me get this on an
air
easel
traffic
next
control
time you
taken
come in
care
here.
of, and then we'll work on the supersonic.
But technology is a big part of your industry here, obviously, and the CEOs that you mentioned are using it to improve things a lot. Forget the planes for a minute. When does AI become a factor, or is it already in the call centers at the airlines?
AI is already in place. I mean, AI is in place almost everywhere. So whether it's call centers, whether it's helping with dynamic pricing, whether it's making sure that you can create, like I said, create your own package and model, whether you want a nonstop flight, whether you want to stop in Des Moines, whether you want to take an extra bag, whether you want just to sit in the back, sit in the front, have extra legroom, whatever it is, you're kind of designing your own system. And AI does that, helps with a lot of that dynamic pricing, which has kept the competition and the prices low. When we're talking about air traffic control, of course AI is going to come into play. The robots aren't landing your planes. Let's not make any mistake about that.
No.
But
they're calling balls and strikes.
But having a backup system that says, the weather in Los Angeles, and we have a flight leaving Des Moines, but that could affect this connecting flight out of Miami, and in real time crunch all that data to say, hey, the incoming flight from Chicago to Boston, let's get that out of the gate a little faster.
Are you getting the data from the government that you need on that front?
The airlines work very closely. And it's not just with the government. I mean, they've made such huge investments in their own AI systems.
They've got their own data.
Yeah, their own data, their own AI systems.
When it comes to weather specifically.
Yeah. And when the FAA gets it, when the real bulk of the rebuild of the air traffic control system comes underway, obviously, again, AI won't necessarily be on the front end, but the back end as a kind of a redundancy, a back check system in a variety of different ways, just to make sure that folks are getting from A to B faster, safer, and with confidence.
You get to fly free now?
Do I fly for? Yeah, do I fly for free?
I didn't think you'd answer it.
I haven't flown. I just got the job 2 weeks ago.
Oh, man. Let's go down to the airport. Let's go to National. We'll go to Vegas together.
I'll find out if I fly for free, and I will let you know when I come back in a week.
All right, fantastic. Please do come back. It's great to see you. I'm happy that you're
now I'm right up the road.
We're neighbors.
Yeah.
This is
I used to be a cynic about this town, but now I'm like Shrek. I love the swamp. I love it. This is my swamp now, and I'm loving it here.